So I will really focus on this topic, game-changing ecosystems.
So you will be in the afternoon, Carlos, right? Yes, Jari, I am the host for the beginning.
My presentation is having actually two parts. First, I'm using this DIGILE as a case story to tell how we are using ecosystems currently and what we have reached and what we are aiming to do with those ecosystems. And the second part is that why I see that these ecosystems are very useful tool when we are building this internet economy in future. And my approach to this ecosystem is a bit like ecosystem is like a product, or ecosystem is like a tool that you can further cultivate and further develop. And I hope that you will find it out why I think so in my presentation. Is this good? Okay. So DIGILE is this kind of a Center for Science, Technology and Innovation, new part of the Finnish innovation system. And we have 6 this kind of shock companies in Finland focusing on different industry verticals. And we are focusing in DIGILE, we are focusing on ICT and more internet economy and related competencies. The goal for those shocks is that to create new competencies, that there could be new growth and new jobs in those industries and so on. So it's from that point of view, it's rather easy thing. And our mission is here that we are creating internet economic competencies to enable new global business and job growth for DIGILE stakeholders and our partners. And actually how we are doing this is that we are building ecosystems to create new competencies and take them further. And we have 3 categories of these kind of ecosystems: research activities, this kind of more directly business development orientated ecosystems, and in solutions area. And then we have started the new thing, digital service creation, with the support of this kind of fourth service lab, which is cloud-based environment to quickly create new kind of services in ecosystems and so on. And as we are a company, we are saying that presenting our story this way, that we have core competencies. On the right hand side, you see that okay, we are saying that we understand what's happening in this internet economy, what kind of technologies, what kind of phenomena there are, etc. We have good background to that, and we are actively following what's happening in the world. And this previous presentation was very nice story to tell about what's happening in big data currently. And then the second side, the left-hand side, is that we are speaking about, okay, we can accelerate the way how we are innovating in this new environment. That's part of the building the ecosystem. And we have certain characters in that how we are building our ecosystems. We are speaking about the public-private partnership. We are able to manage different kind of funding sources together to create something out of those and so on. So there are several elements actually in those that what we are doing so that we can accelerate the innovation there. And then we have also always this kind of stretching targets that we want to create breakthroughs on global level. So we are not creating something for the Finnish society as such, but focusing on the global development. So you could put, let's say, simplify the story that, okay, we think that we know what's the relevant thing to do now, how we can proceed quickly with that, and then we are heading that it's really creating value added on the global level. And really this stretching process, and that's what we are really having in those research activities. We have milestone system to follow how our, let's say, ecosystem is developing, how it's performing, and we are measuring and doing this kind of evaluation there when we are about to reach the as we think, the global level in that category what we are doing, and so on, and then we are always targeting to this kind of default position where we are among the leaders in that category. So these are one way to, let's say, describe the building blocks for our ecosystem product. So those cornerstones there, the corners of the triangle, and then always in our case, the motivated actors are actually doing the job. And what we can do with this kind of ecosystem. So currently we have in this research field, we have, this is the set of the research activities what we are having. The cybersecurity is the new one, it will be starting actually in the beginning of next year as a research activity, and then we are focusing on this kind of longer term activities under this brain machine name currently. But what we have been doing with the ecosystem is actually that when we started, we were very much and finished, let's say, research activities were very much in this kind of technology driven thinking, and with our ecosystem model we have been able to move the focus towards business development and towards new paradigms and so on. And actually this is let's say over the years the summary of our research programs, and as you can see here, two of the early programs actually failed. We didn't know exactly how to do this kind of thing so that we are going to be successful over the whole period what we want to have in those research activities, typically over 4 years. So we failed and we decided, okay, we are going to stop this and start the new one and have a new approach. Currently, actually, we have learned how to do and build these kind of ecosystems such a way that we have tendency that our new research programs are bigger and bigger program by program, and also the year after year they're growing. And actually the good thing is that the demand is such a high that actually we can reduce the amount of public funding there and increase the industry funding instead. And that's telling that we have been able to create such kind of ecosystem product which is successful and is proceeding. So this is one way to tell the story. Currently we have in our ecosystems on annual level 150 companies, 1,300 or more people, etc. So we have some statistics and we are following this. These and also other elements there, how we are doing and proceed. And the other way to describe what we have been able to do with this kind of ecosystem model is that when we started in 2008, Finland was very much this kind of mobile country with mobile competencies, mobile focus. Nokia was still the leader in mobile phone business, 50 billion actually euros annual turnover in 2008, etc. We decided that we need to shift the whole thing to the new paradigm, and actually with the help of this ecosystem model and the thinking there, we have been able to move our research activities to this new paradigm. What we are calling today is digital services in internet economy. And currently what we see is that the growing companies in Finland, they are really in this context growing, and you can see that also from the statistics which are coming. This is coming from Teknologiateollisuus. So that the old electronics and this let's say competence area, business area, that's fading away, and then the new here called tietotekniikka-ala. Is to proceed, and there are other ways to show the same statistics here from the employment side. In Finland, we have the situation that we are not good in this service economy yet. We are investing a lot. We are putting lots of money to education throughout the whole society, but we are doing only, let's say, export out of this kind of manufactured goods and products, and certainly we need to learn how to do export out of services. And this is our mission to how we want to use these ecosystems as a tool to build this kind of service export growth, which is actually necessary for us if we want to be successful in future. So why we think that this approach is relevant and the service creation is relevant? Okay, we know that here I think that we already know that this internet economy, the digitalization, that will be very, very big transition as such. It's actually bigger than industrial revolution, and we know also that these so-called internet companies are nowadays growing faster than here we have as a reference we have here the typical telecommunication or IT companies and so on. So when we can help our companies to turn towards this kind of internet companies and so on, that then will help us to really create the new growth. And this is many ways happening that way, that actually this internet economy is causing these kind of systemic transformations actually in every industry sector, and it's also causing the need to have a new kind of companies which are fast, who can serve on this kind of transition waves and so on. But the good thing is that every transition will create new set of digital services. And if we can support this development with our offering, we can really, at the same time, when we can create quickly this kind of new services in Finland, we can actually create, in addition to the first service in that category, we can create create this kind of ecosystem which can then take the service and start to further develop it and such a way this is going to be, as we hope, sustainable way to create successful services. There are several categories where we don't yet have this kind of global services available, and we have plenty of opportunities available. So here is then I'm turning to the next part of my presentation. I'm starting that with this slide. This is from Andy Cruz's book, Only the Paranoid Survive. Maybe you notice that there's this kind of inflection point. Before that, your company is growing nicely, but then there's something happening, and then you need to reshape your company, find a new mission or whatever, and then you can continue to grow. Or if you are not doing that, then you are fading away. I'm using this same let's say framework to describe that what seems to be happening in this internet economy. We are seeing plenty of this kind of paradigm shifts or systemic transformations coming. And when we started to speak about ecosystems as we are speaking in DIGILE in 2008, 2009, we had plenty of questions at what's ecosystem, what you mean by that, and so on. That's not the case anymore. Everybody is at least believing that he is understanding what is ecosystem and how to use it and so on. But typically nowadays we went maybe a bit too far with this kind of thinking, because we think that ecosystem can't be the solution for everything. That's not the case. That's my feeling, because basically you can apply the ecosystem in every phase here, but I would like to put it that way, that it's not going to be successful in those phases. Those companies who are mature are having really the established position in this kind of growth phase. They are not actually really willing to cannibalize their own business and really go through, because this paradigm shift is typically a threat for them. And so it's very difficult to build successful ecosystem in this area where we have this red ecosystem. Sometimes it happens, and it's still possible, like we had the history in cellular development, when we were moving from analog cellular to digital cellular, and then companies were together creating the new standards and building the new growth. European companies at least were working there together. Motorola was at that time from the US still very strongly believing in this analog and some other paradigms, and they failed to really fully jump to this new growth phase. But anyway, this is very challenging environment to build ecosystem and use it to really create something new. So is this area where the business is declining. You use different kind of tools, consolidation of companies, firing the people, reducing the costs, etc. That's not typically the ecosystem case. But here we have the good potential to build successful ecosystems when you know exactly what to do. One element there is that you need to have a certain agreement about this change, what is really happening there, so that you can share the feeling and see that this is the way to explain our change and so on, and then you can create this kind of fuzzy vision where you are heading with the new development and with the new ecosystem. And why I'm saying it's fuzzy is because typically it's so that every player there needs to be something that, okay, this is the goal, but they need to be they want to invent by themselves their own future, which is matching with this vision. They might not exactly share openly that's where they are heading. So it needs to be nice vision, but it can be this kind of fuzzy vision, and partly it's also created during the trip to the goal. And the ecosystem has to have the freedom, let's say, to further develop this vision during the journey. And really, then you need to have the motivated players there, which are having clear commitment to the whole journey to go through. And this is something what we have learned to do, how to do in our research activities, and how we can manage that thing. And this is very much like the model what we are using nowadays. Then I will jump to the let's say some fields what I see where we can use this kind of capability to use ecosystems as a tool to development. We know that the digitalization has taken some time. We started with certain categories of products like books or photos or payments, etc. And it has been rather painful to do this thing. You needed to first have digital versions of those things there. Then you needed to build the access to those digital products, and then you were able to build some service based on that. But over time, this has been developing. There have been more categories, and they have been getting closer. And actually nowadays this has changed, that it's more this kind of horizontal game where we are, and so on. Certainly there are still some categories of data which are not in this kind of loop or this kind of model. There are still, let's say, opportunities to build ecosystem to do this kind of transition. And typically the business models here are different than here, so it's nice if you can go with your ecosystem through the whole evolution. Then the other way to try to illustrate this, what seems to be happening, is that earlier when we had something here on the left, old or current stuff, city, traffic, industry, whatever, and you wanted to create smart city, traffic or industry, you needed to invest in hardware to have such kind of platforms and tools in place and sensors, whatever, in place. And so this kind of computer-aided approach was the only way to really use it, to do this kind of transformation. But nowadays, actually the service is better approach for that, because we are having phones, we are having this kind of devices all around, and they are connected. So actually if you take the smart traffic development and the services there, this will be very much service driven, the development. And the reason is that actually the service is between this infrastructure and the users, and actually that's excellent position for the service. It's like a winning position in the value chain for the service to be as a driver for the change, and such a way it's interesting way to really build the ecosystem around the service development, because you can really have a very valuable position for that change there. Then we are heading towards this kind of future where actually everything is in clouds. And certainly there are need for different kind of interfaces between those. Several things are not working only in one cloud, but between clouds. And if you want to have a success around certain thing, it's good to have an ecosystem to build those interfaces and be part of the building the whole cloud environment as such. So there are plenty of opportunities. And we know that the end user point of view over time will be that everything will be available as a service. There are new ways to have access to those services, new phenomena, and so on. And this is also the reaction and the change in the potentially in regulation and the rest of the society, how to change. And so ecosystems can be used in this transition as well. And then one additional slide here, which is also building a small link to this previous presentation, such a way that okay, here I have this cloud environment. We are going to have this kind of IBM computers like Watson there. We are having artificial intelligence there, and we are also having when we are calling to some phone number actually or call center, we don't know where it is actually nowadays. It can be wherever, in Kajaani, or it can be in Marbella, or it can be wherever. Or when we are using a certain service, we actually don't know if that's the artificial intelligence which is behind that, or is that the written code which is behind that. Actually, we don't know if that the service is created in a certain crowd or whatever. So what seems to be coming out of this is that the users here who certainly are, let's say, extending their own capabilities with the use of services, they are interfacing this kind of different kind of intelligence categories there over time. And certainly to do this kind of things and phenomena, it's very useful to use ecosystems when building those new ways to behave in this environment. And then we know that this new environment is actually the home for all kind of new business models and ways to do business. And this is just a topic itself to speak for a long time. I will just ask you to study these opportunities from the internet, certainly. So what I see is that when we are proceeding with this digitalization and we are seeing this kind of growing space of paradigm shifts coming, and this growth is accelerated. So we can in such a way illustrate that okay, those ways to have a view to this development could be having this kind of roadmap thinking there. The point is that new paradigms seems to be bigger than the previous paradigm, the paradigm shift, and it's going to be more, let's say, having bigger impact than the previous one, and so on. And the challenge here is that when this is proceeding, if you are not involved in that development, then actually the gap between this old and this new is growing, and it's getting very wide. So it's difficult to jump over that quickly, and that's also one of the reasons why I think that it's very useful to use this kind of ecosystems to build new competencies and learn new ways to do business in this environment, because you can accelerate the development there, your own development, you can share the risk with others there, and together you can really proceed faster. And to get you can create something which is scaling faster than alone. So these are just some, let's say, findings out of this. But I really think that this ecosystem is something everyone should be trying to understand and trying to learn how to use that when we are building our own success in this internet economy time frame. So, thank you.